I think you guys are really going to enjoy this guest I'm about to have on the channel today. Her name is Kay. We're rhyming. Do you see? Today we have Kay. Yay. Yay. And so I'm really, really excited, you guys. I'm going to introduce you to Kay, who has a pretty insane story to tell all of you today. And I know that you're going to understand and know what these narcissists are, what they do. You need to be aware of how bad it really does get. And we need to warn you guys about their lies and how terrible the lengths that they're going to go to lie to you guys. It's unbelievable. So without further ado, here is Kay. What's going on, Kay?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? I'm so excited to have you on the channel. You're so lovely.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, so Kay and I connected not too long ago, and I think it's time for you to tell your story. And for those of you, you should know Kay has a channel she has just started very recently to talk about narcissists and what they do, and to give you guys some really great information. And the way she puts her videos together are really awesome. I'm gonna shut up and sip my tea and let you have the floor.
Well, thanks again for having me, Trace. So this is quite a story, actually. And just to give you a real quick background about myself, I got saved back in 2014. And so I started to learn God's word and what he would expects from us as being believers. And so I decided to do my best to live according to his word, and I changed my ways. And I know sometimes that takes time to do that. And I even made a commitment to wait until marriage, and I just cut all any relationships off and just was like, I'm going to stay celibate until I get married.
Yes.
And also during that time, I decided to start a Christian channel. And so it's been since 2014 that I had this other Christian channel. So about 2 years ago, I had a regular subscriber always commenting to me and always like saying like flirty, I would say flirty comments, to where he was letting me know that he was interested in me, but not where it kind of overstepped being flirtatious. And but every video he was always giving me all this encouragement and saying, if you ever want
Puffing
me to
you
go
up.
out with you, yeah,
He's
just
puffing.
really
He's
trying
puffing you
to,
up.
yeah,
He's a puffer.
puffing me up. And so I got curious, and so I checked out his page and saw that he had a ministry channel. And I was like, wow. And I checked out his videos and I was like, wow, this guy is really on fire for Christ. I mean, he talked about sin. He talked about how he's not in any sin and that we need to really live by God's word. I mean, you would have thought he slept with the Bible. I mean, he just was really on fire for him. And I was like, wow, he's great. But I didn't think much about him further than that, but he still kept messaging me. And so we eventually exchanged emails, and he gave me his phone number. And I wasn't interested in him, even though I was happy to see a man on fire and being serious about God. I wasn't interested in him like that because my mind wasn't thinking relationships with anyone. But he just kept on steadily texting me, and really was the beginning of the love bombing stage.
Yeah, they really turn up, don't they? The interest, they show you that I'm interested. I'm very interested in you. You're very interesting, and they make you feel good about yourself, don't they?
Right. And then of course, if they know whatever your passion is, that's going to be their passion too. So he used God to really get in there to further his agenda towards me. Exactly. And but like I said, he was texting me good morning, always had his little cartoon, how you can make emoji of yourself, and he's always just really constantly in communication with me and was showing me interest. And so I decided, okay, well, let me explore this and see where it goes. And so, we went out on a couple dates. And even after the first date, I still wasn't interested. I was driving to go see him, and I still was like, I do not want to see this man. But I went because I committed to it. But again, the love bombing just continued on. And so I started to kind of lower my guard and be like, Kate, don't be so hard on this guy. Don't always, you know, um, think that he's up to something. He's up God. Look at his channel. He's on fire and for the Lord. So, but then he was talking about wanting to start a courtship with me with getting married. And I'm older in years and I've never been married. I never really thought about marriage until he brought that up, because he said that he was celibate for 5 years, the same amount of time I was celibate.
Oh, isn't
And
that
what a coincidence. Isn't that a coincidence?
meanwhile he's a practicing Satanist in in a book on
Because
witchcraft.
he's like, oh, you've been celibate for 5 years? Me too. So, but he had told me that his first wife had died of cancer. So I was like, oh my goodness. 5 years ago, he said his wife died of cancer. I was like, oh my word, I'm sorry to hear that. Um, and so he said he was looking to find a great Christian woman to marry. And so, but I started noticing like little subtle flags that I would keep stomping down and ignoring, because I didn't want my past relationships of me not believing, I didn't want to take those negative thoughts and place it on him, of experiences that I've had in the past. And I didn't want to have my insecurities about that to hurt this new relationship. So
Right.
anytime a red flag would come up, I'd quickly stomp it down. And even though this is really a small red flag, he never asked me how I was. He never asked me about my interviews, or he never asked me about me. If you really think about it, narcissists don't really ask too much about you all the time.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so and
Or sometimes they do the opposite. Well, they want to know certain things about you so that they can use them against you in the end. But
true.
yeah, you could tell that the interest in you as a person was truly not there. Like you started to
Right.
notice that.
Right, because he didn't ask me how my job interview was. I'm like, hey, I'm having a job interview on Monday. So when I would talk to him after, he would never be like, hey, how'd that job interview go, or
Mhm.
or anything that was significant. He never asked, and that was something that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, wow, he didn't even ask me how that every all those things went. Um, went. So another thing that was like weird is he would never talk to me on the phone. And he would always just text. And so I approached him about that. I'm like, why are you only texting me? I want to talk on the phone. And he never he would say, well, I'm not a phone person. I talk on the phone all day long at work. When I get home, I don't feel like talking on the phone. But I would tell him, I'm like, well, when you're in love or you're really liking someone, you want to hear that voice. You want to hear
Mhm.
their voice. Regardless if you talked on the phone all day long, you want to be like, hey, how's everything going? How's your day going? Drive home safely. But he would never hardly talk to me on the phone. And that was a huge flag. But
Mhm.
once again, I'm stomping those red flags down, because
Yep.
I so much don't want to bring my negative experience into this
Into
relationship.
to a new person. Yep.
Exactly. And then and I'm like trying to tell myself, okay, he's a man of God. He's not like the guys of the world. He knows the Bible. He knows what God's expectation is. He's not going to do you
Plus,
dirty because he knows. Mm.
I'll intervene when you know that someone's been watching your channel and your material and all this. You figure, well, this person knows me in essence, and that makes you feel good too, almost, because you're like, well, this person obviously was drawn to me because of we have a lot of things in common and a lot of things to talk about spiritually, which you can't, as you and I were discussing, we don't always have friends like that. You can talk about this kind of stuff with people. So there's already that connection. And as I've gone through this myself, when someone's coming to you through the channel, you feel like, oh, okay, this person gets it, and we're not thinking what was coming.
Exactly.
Or the fact that this person could have been studying you the entire years you've had that channel to know exactly how to get to you and what to say and what we're getting to. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was
When you
just
have a
about to
channel,
mention.
yeah, when you have a
Yes,
channel, it's really hard to see who's coming to you for the right reasons and who's coming to you for all the wrong reasons. It's a discernment all of its own. And now you're talking about a long distance, right?
right, right. He lived about 3.5 hours from me. And I agree with you. I think he looked at my past testimonies and he saw that I had a very challenging childhood and life. And I think they prey upon people like that.
Yes.
And so I think that that's where he got his way he was going to come at me. And another thing, he and I had the same subscriber. He has a female subscriber on his channel, and I've had that same subscriber on my channel. And I like, oh, hey, we got the same subscriber. This female, she has a fashion channel, beautiful girl, beautiful lady. And when he realized that we had the same subscriber, that particular female, he went back and started he stopped commenting on all my videos, and I think he also went back and started deleting all his comments that he made from from all those other comments, because I had noticed that
Oh,
he
these
was
men.
subscribed to her channel, and she doesn't talk about God hardly. She's a fashion channel. She's
Yep.
always doing her twirls and wearing stuff to show her self off. And I noticed that he's liking her content and watching her videos, and like I said, it wasn't God related. So I asked him about that, and that's when he stopped commenting on my channel, when he realized that we shared that same person. Because I think he didn't I think he and I later found out that he talks to her outside of YouTube. They talk, because I was asking him about her. And he's like, no, she's married, and there's nothing between us. And I think he was liking her, and he didn't want her to suspect that he was coming after me too. You know what I mean?
By the way, everyone, this is the very first time I've heard your story, which we wanted to do it this way because we thought it would be more interesting. I don't know your whole story. The only thing I knew is the one thing you told me, and I was like, "Oh, you got to come on the channel and talk about that." Which is obviously you guys see the title with lies. But anyway, this is crazy because I could go on and on and on, but this is your time. But I know I've been down this road. And we don't talk about this as YouTubers, like what we go through. So keep
Yes.
going. This is
And
crazy.
another this is before I knew about the narcissist thing. I didn't know much about it at all. But another thing that I would be hesitant about is asking him questions about himself that I felt like would offend him. And I feel like if you're getting ready to marry someone, you should ask those tough questions, because you're getting ready to spend the rest of your life with them. So you should know
So
about things that you're curious about. Like, say
let
if
me
I'm
go.
missing an arm, I don't the guy who's gonna marry me, I don't think it's wrong for him to be like, oh, hey Kay, how did you lose your arm? Was it an accident? Was it?
So wait a minute. I want to go back for a minute. let me get this straight. You guys were talking and he asked for you to be on board basically with getting married, with being the one because he felt like
Right.
you were the one.
Right.
And this was, can I ask how long did this take before he was like asking you this?
I would say probably within the first about 3 months. That's my guess.
Yeah,
That he was
about
like,
right.
because he said he was celibate. He knew I was celibate for 5 years, and he said he felt like this great connection, and that God was, telling him that I was to be his wife, and so that's how he kind of got me used to that idea, like, well, maybe we could get, married. And so that's how that all started. I know that's kind of fast.
So he didn't really have an answer for himself when you asked him about the fashion designers channel.
No, just that they're just friends, and I just noticed that they talk outside of YouTube. But I trusted him, like, okay, well, I trust you, just because you're talking to someone, a female, doesn't mean there's necessarily something going on. But when I saw that he stopped commenting on my videos and supporting my videos when they came out, that stuck with me because
Mhm.
he immediately stopped with.
He was super fan last week. He was your super fan, and this week all of a sudden he's a ghost.
It's like crickets.
Oh
Crickets.
yeah, they're so classic, aren't
He
they?
wouldn't
They're
even like
classic.
my video. I'm
Yeah,
like,
won't even
I
let.
couldn't
Yeah,
even
no
get a
thumbs
like
up.
from him.
No more thumbs up for you.
Yeah. Like, wow. But another thing that kind of also was red flags, the fact that I felt like I couldn't ask him questions that I wanted
Mhm.
to know. Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah.
Like there's something
Yep.
about that person when you feel like you can't ask certain things because you're scared of how they would react or respond to that. And um and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I always felt that about him, that there was things that I wasn't allowed to ask him,
Mhm.
even though it wasn't verbal. But so when it started kind of going downhill, is when I want to add this before I start telling you how it started to unravel. Is that he wanted to do like a spiritual marriage before we got our court papers to do the courthouse marriage. Now I
Now,
want
have
to take
had had you guys met yet? Had you guys actually
yeah,
physically met? Okay, so okay, let's back up for a minute. When did you first physically see him?
I would say within probably the first maybe 2 months. I think we met
Okay.
halfway.
And what did you think when you first saw him physically in the now, like not through the computer because it's such a different experience. I don't know if you felt that. I felt when I met the one I met through my channel 3 years ago, when I met him in person, it was, well, first of all, he you want to talk about lies? He lied about his height. So the
Oh,
first thing, oh yeah, so the first thing was when he came around his truck to come give me a hug, I go, "You're not 5'7." The first thing out of my mouth.
oh, he's
Oh
probably like,
my
with shoes
god.
on. I am Trace with shoes
Yeah, no,
on.
you know what he said? He goes, "I used to be." I'm like, David, you're only 57 years old. Like what? What? You shrank 5 inches and like, did you think I wasn't gonna find out or bring it up? Like, come on, that was the first lie you told. But anyway, this is about you. But oh my god. So yeah, I mean that killed it for me because it wasn't the fact if he would have told me his real height, it didn't matter. I liked his heart, or so I
Right,
thought.
right.
But when you're lying about stuff like that, it goes much deeper as we know. But yeah, so how did you feel when you first like saw him? Did you were there
Well,
surprises? Did was because chemistry is a real thing,
yes,
right?
it is.
I want people to understand this. When you meet somebody online and you think and you're doing FaceTime all the time like this, right? And you think that like okay, I like this person. I like what they're all about. Something else, you gotta meet these people in person, you guys, and you gotta do it safely too. I would advise, like, I went out to his way because I had friends out in San Diego. I had plenty of friends I could have stayed with if things went hog wild. And I felt more comfortable going to him. But,
Mhm.
just for future warning for you guys, when you see somebody in person, that's how there is such a thing as chemistry, and
Yeah.
pheromones are a real thing. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I've met some really attractive people and I don't have chemistry with them. Like, they smell funny to me or something, like, or you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, but it's a real scientific thing that occurs between two people. So I wanted to see what you did. Were you attracted to him? Were you repelled by him a little? Like, did you get any sense of that?
Well, even though I really didn't want to go meet him, because like I said, it took a long time for me to be
For you to
interested
feel
in.
different? Yeah.
Yeah, but he kept pursuing me hard.
And he's a
Um,
lot older than you, right, Kay?
yeah,
He was older than you too?
he's about 10 years older than me.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought he was okay.
yeah, he's about 10 years older than me. Um, but when I met him, but at the same time, even though and that was the thing that really kind of made me feel reservations about him, because of the age difference. Because I was like, wow, I'm only gonna be able to spend a good 5 years, and then I'm gonna turn into his nursemaid. I'm not trying to be funny, but I don't. I want to enjoy a husband, and not 5 years. I'm having to spoon feed him, and you know, I'm not trying. I'm not trying, but those thoughts was there. I'm like, man, I'm not trying to be that man's caretaker, and I felt like he was trying to set me up for that.
Well, people need to know about this. There's a trend that people are starting to talk about now where that's exactly what they're doing. They literally are on hospice and they're not telling people that. And they're getting married and letting you and then dying and letting you deal with their bills. I mean, this is crazy stuff, but this
Yeah.
is stuff going on right now. People need to be aware of. But all this to say, okay, so you first met him. I want to go to that part. When you
Yeah.
first met
But then,
him,
right,
yeah.
and we met, and then I tried talking to myself. I'm like, hey, okay, yes, he's approaching 60 years old, and I'm still in my 40s, so, but I took in consideration that he was very fit. He has a body of a 35-year-old, very
Mm-hmm.
fit. Very well kept. He keeps himself very well. His hair is perfect all the time. He dresses very nice. He works out. He eats well. His hygiene, everything is just perfect.
On
So
point.
yeah, so that was like, okay, well, since that's the case, then he's probably going to run a little bit longer and be more self-sufficient, you know. But there was one thing about his feature that I was always baffled about is and I don't want to talk about people who don't have teeth. I know people lose teeth for different reasons. That they didn't have care. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm talking negative if you
Right.
lost a tooth or a few teeth. But the reason why I'm bringing this up about him is that he had lost from his canine all the way back. He doesn't have any teeth, and he's lost probably about 4 to 5 upper teeth. And when I met him, he had one tooth that was rotting that he eventually had gotten pulled. So in my mind, that was another thing that stuck with me. I'm like, how is a man that fit, that
Mm-hmm.
that that takes care of his hygiene, because he was clean, always looked fresh. How out of all that, he's perfect. He has 10 in all those categories, but why in his dental, why is he doesn't hardly have any teeth? And he told me that one time he only did cocaine one time when he was a teenager. That's it. But
They always only do
oh my
cocaine. They only
god.
tried it one time. They always
Yes,
have
I
that
didn't
quick
inhale.
story.
I
I
didn't
tried it
inhale.
once. One time I tried cocaine. Yesterday.
But and not to fast forward too much, but his best friend, one of his good friends, contacted me after this ordeal and told me that he did drugs all the time. He did cocaine. Him and his buddies would go to the club
Well,
looking
that
for
was when
women doing.
you told me
cocaine
when you
all the
told me
time.
that yeah, when you told me that this weekend, I that was the first thing I thought when you said he's losing his teeth. He's either a closet alcoholic and or junkie or both. Yep.
Yeah, right. And then another thing, when he came over to visit me, he was sitting on the couch and I had a chair that I sat right in front of him. So he's sitting on the couch, I'm sitting in front of him, and so I'm
He
talking
didn't
to
want you to
him.
smell his breath.
Yeah, well, we weren't sitting that close, but just like just talking in enough space. So I'm
Yeah.
talking to him because I had something important that I wanted to discuss with him, and it was really important. So this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm talking to him, and he's dozing off. And I'm like, hey, and I'm having to shake his leg. Hey, wake up! And he wakes up, but he just kept on dozing at 1 o'clock,
Morphine, heroin,
and whatever I
something.
was talking to him about, I'm telling you, it's like saying something very important to you as you're feeling sleepy, but you will wake up if you start hearing that, because if it's something important. And what I was talking to him about was very, very important. But the fact that he just kept
Nodding off.
dozing off. And I was like, 'cause I haven't been around like drug people who do drugs, so I'm kind of naive with that.
Yep. Yep.
But I always thought that was odd too. I'm like, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're talking about something very serious, and he's dozing off. He's
Yep.
he's he's falling asleep. So so with that and one time I saw he had a band-aid on his leg. So and there was nothing there when you peel it came off, there was nothing under it. So I don't
Yeah.
know what.
My guess is he was doing heroin. I
Yeah,
would
like
I
what.
would I've known people. I mean, I was a musician for however many years, and that's a big sign of like any type of what do you call it, the morphines, the heroines, the painkillers. They that can cause people to do that. I used to see them do that in the scene, and we had a music producer once in the middle of our songs was doing it, and I was just like, hello buddy, we're not paying you to sleep, and lo and behold, yeah, he was seriously addicted to heroin. But it's weird when you see somebody doing that, because yeah, it's like there's something not right. You're Even if you didn't know it was drugs because you were naive to that, like your whole body kind of goes like, wait a minute, like like it's like something's really off, something's weird. So
Right.
that happened. Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like me and you talking right now, and then I start dozing off. Wouldn't you think that was weird?
Yeah. Well, as adults, like, yeah, I mean, yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
that
that
kind of, like I said, I saw he had a band-aid on his leg, on his thigh, and there was nothing there underneath the band-aid. There was no boo-boo under, there was nothing
yeah.
under it. So I thought that was weird. And once again, I swept that red flag, I stomped it down, and you know, I just really, I think I just really wanted something to work out for me, because I felt like everything in my life always gets sabotaged. And I just really, I guess I just kept ignoring all those flags. I really wanted something to work out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Something. And
Yep.
I was so scared to like ruin it. And I knew I couldn't ask him those questions, because I knew if I asked him those hard questions, he wouldn't be interested in me. I don't know why. I just knew that. I knew if
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like if I asked him about his teeth, I think he would just have lied anyway. Said
Yep.
that, because he used to be in martial arts. I think he just would have said, oh, I got a kick into the jaw or something. But it doesn't explain all of your other teeth everywhere else. And why would you lose a whole row,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
from that?
Yeah. He was on something severe. I'll tell you right now, he was on something. Yeah. Okay. So that all
Yeah.
went on.
Yeah. So him and I, we had our date of when we were going to get married. I'm calling all the courthouses trying to get our date. He's telling me to go get a ring and everything, or pick out a ring that I like. So so anyway, he comes to my house and we're supposed to discuss it, and then he decides to not to hold off. Now keep in mind, and this is my mistake, that we were together, because he used that spiritual marriage thing. I don't know why I believe that. I was definitely in a fantasy land to believe that. And he promised, hey, soon after we'll get married after that. Because he gave me scriptures to support our spiritual marriage. He gave me scriptures to support that. And he twisted
Yeah.
it and took it out of context. And me being, you know, you know, this was also during the time where the Jezebel was being thrown around a lot. A lot of people, anytime you gave correction to any man, you were called a Jezebel in the Christian community. So I try
Mm-hmm.
my best not to, since he was a man of God, to not question him too much, because I was trying to, like, in my mind, keep my place.
Yeah.
And and I didn't want to, be that Jezebel. But you know what? I don't care. Y'all, they can call me Jezebel all day long now, because I'm gonna ask those hard questions,
Yeah. Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
gonna,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't care.
I know. I know. I know. Well, this is, we can all see, I'm sure all the audience watching this video can see why he picked you. I mean, it's no mystery why he picked you, because he had it made in the shade when he was watching. He was watching your channel long before you knew he was watching your channel. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and sizing me up, and
Yep.
he just knew too much. I guess that's what happens when you have those type of videos. They know how to come in at you, and I fell for it. But unfortunately for him, he misjudged me, because things didn't turn out the way that he expected it to. And I'm getting ready to get into that. He definitely, I feel like if he could do this all over again, he would have totally bypassed my channel altogether.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you Once I tell you everything else that I'm getting ready to tell you. So when he came to my house and told me that, hey, I think we should wait on getting married, I was upset, because I had already given myself to him. And we had a little bit of an argument, and he had left. And
Wait,
so
so you guys had already got intimate, and then he went back on it and said, "I don't I think we need to wait." He went back on the wait
right,
train? Mm.
to wait on getting married. And I was like, no, 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 that wasn't our plan. You said we were spiritually married. You gave me all those scriptures. And like I said, I'll take fault for believing that. And I should have fact checked him and not believed him. But I'm like, no, 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 we're supposed to be getting married. And he didn't want me to talk about it on my channel that I was getting married. He wanted me to keep that quiet, because he said he didn't want the devil to start, to start working in people and messing up
Oh,
our
they got all
engagement.
the answers, don't they? They got all the answers just perfectly lined up.
Another thing, Trace, he would never let me come and visit him, because I was like, I want to come visit you. I want to see where you live at and how
It's
you're
important.
living.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he would be like, no, right now I want to do all the driving. I'm the man. I want to drive to where you are. Let me do the pursuing. Let me be the man. So he used that angle to make it
Oh, he's
seem like
good,
he was
huh?
being noble,
He's a good
and
one.
not allowing me to come over to where his house is, not inviting me to church, nothing. And so anyway, after he left, I was, upset that he changed. And from that moment on, for him, the love bombing was over. You know how they're done. He did his conquest to me. He was no longer really interested in me after that. And
That's because
and he was
the fashion designer agreed to meet him finally. It was something. It was something.
exactly. Oh, she's gonna learn all about him soon. As I keep telling this story, she's gonna know all about what he's been doing. She thinks that he was into her, but really he's into everybody. So,
Yeah,
but
he's into
but
himself.
in her mind, she probably thought she was the only one.
Mhm.
And so I decided. Another thing is, I never fact checked him. I never did a background check, and so somebody I know
Pay
has,
attention, people. Pay attention to
yes.
this stuff. We're telling you the mistakes we made, and yeah.
Yeah. So somebody I know has access to records. And so that person, did their little digging, and they're like, oh, well, I see he has another occupant that lives with him. There's two people tied to that one
Did
address.
your heart go in your throat?
yeah, I'm like, what in the world? And I could see that he moves a lot. He moves a lot. So I text him and I'm like, why is there two people tied to your one address? So he called me immediately after I texted. Oh, now all of a sudden you want to talk on the phone. And so he's talking on the phone and he's sounding nervous. He's sounding nervous. He's like, that's I called his house and it was a woman's voicemail. They're like, hello, we're not here at the time, at the moment, a message. And I texted him about that. He's like, oh, that was my deceased wife. I didn't want to, erase her voicemail because,
See,
it was
I didn't know it
sentimental.
was I didn't know it was getting to like this is okay. Oh my God. So wait a minute. He told you his wife died of cancer?
Right. But when I called the telephone number that was associated to his address, it's a landline. He has a landline.
Right.
I called the number and it went to a voicemail. And a woman says, hi, we're not here. And she named herself and him. We're not here right now. Please leave us a message. And when I asked him about it, he's like, oh, that's my deceased wife. We used to sing together and do all these things, but she passed away. But I never erased that recording. Now keep in mind, she died 5 years ago. And he's
That's what he
moved
told you?
several times since then. So then, in my mind, I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound right. And so I also, so by this time he's getting nervous. He's starting to like contact me more, even though he really wants to drop me like a hot potato. He really
Mhm.
wants to just do like this, but he can't because I'm starting to put all the pieces together. And so he has to stay up on what I know. So that's why he's staying in contact with me. But really, if he could, he would just
Yeah.
set ties.
It's
But he,
because they're petrified of people that know who they really are. They're petrified of
yeah,
you. So they keep the
right.
thing going. Yep.
Right, because I started to know the truth. I just started to see. I'm like, okay, well, I see there's another person that lives there. So that person who found his information, they also went on to Facebook to see if they could see relatives because the relatives was also associated to his name when they were doing a check on him, and they went to his brother's Facebook and the there was this one woman that was always taking a picture with him, and I screenshotted all the pictures. I kept seeing him with this woman being cozy. They're all snugged up, hugged up together. And so I sent him those screenshots, and that's when he came clean. Okay, I just didn't know how to tell you, that's my ex-wife, and I didn't know how to tell you. The ex-wife, he said, that was dead from cancer. She's somehow resurrected from the grave, and she's, you know,
Wait, so did
back
he admit that
alive.
he lied about her having cancer and
He
dying?
said, he said, he said, but I really didn't lie to you because I was married before that, and she really did die from cancer. So now he only told me he was married once. So now the other one, because he had to come clean, now he's telling me he was married twice, but the first wife died of cancer, but he meshed the first wife and the second wife together as one. He morphed them into one. But when I found out that there was two, he was like, okay, yes, my first wife, she really did die. I didn't lie about that. And this is my second wife, and I didn't know how, my second ex-wife, and I didn't know how to tell you about her, that we're no longer together. And the only reason why you see us in all those pictures is because my family doesn't know that we're not together, and my family still loved her, and she went to my dad's funeral, and but we're not together. We're not doing anything. We're not together.
Mm.
So,
Wow, these
I
people.
oh my
So did you
gosh.
ever find out if the first wife did die of cancer? Did you ever like do your
Oh, I'm gonna get
research?
into that. I'm gonna get into that. so then so then I'm like,
Psycho. What
okay,
a
so
psycho.
he's crazy. Those, if he is on drugs, they definitely messed his brain up. And so we did some more checking, and I'm like, wow, you're you have your condo for rent. You're moving. How come you didn't tell me you're moving? He's like, oh no, the people that I'm renting from, they sold this condo, but the people that bought the condo said I can still stay here, but I'm not really moving, but I'm just staying here until I figure out where I'm gonna go. And so one day, so I went and I drove. I did a surprise visit. I went to the address, and that's associated with him, and I knocked on the door, and this white family answered the door because he's not white. He's a different ethnicity. And I was like, hey, does such and such live here? They're like, who? I was like, does such and such live here? They're like, we don't know who you're talking about. We just moved here a month ago. We don't know who that person is. And so I called him. I said, hey, you're not at that address that you're supposed to be living at anymore. He's like, oh, yes, I am. They're lying to you. I do still live there. My stuff is still there. And then I asked him, I said, well, what color is the family? What color? They're black. I was like, no, they're not. They're white. Because this is a predominantly black area. So he thought the odds that they were going to be black was going to be high.
Oh my God in heaven.
So, because it's a predominantly black area. So that's what he thought. But I'm like, no, it's a white family. And he's like, can we meet? Can we meet? I want to meet you right now. Because we're in the
So
same
let me guess,
area.
he's living in his car?
He's like, okay, I'm living in a hotel. I'm living in a long stay hotel, and that's the truth. I'm like, well, let me go see where it is. No, I'm gonna come see you. And so he comes and sees me. Let me tell you something.
At this point, are you just like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
at this point, I already know it's a wrap. I already know it's a wrap, but I'm not gonna let him walk off into the sunset unscathed. I'm sorry. We're gonna. So
Yeah.
I'm playing along. Because I'm trying to
Yeah.
unwrap this whole thing. Because if I feel like I deserve the truth of it,
Yeah.
but I already know my mind is a wrap. So even though I still, I'm upset at how deceived I was.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so he came to meet me in the parking lot. Let me tell you something. He looked rough. He looked like he hasn't slept in days. He looked like he hasn't showered, shaved, or nothing. And he told me he hasn't been able to sleep ever since I've been digging up his his life, and I've been putting all the pieces together. He said he hasn't been able to sleep. So anyway, so when I found out that so what I did, my next step, because the reason why I was in that area, because I went to go to a private investigator, and I asked the investigator to figure out if he's married or not. And the private investigators, they're not going to just take your case because they don't know if you're dangerous or if you're psycho. You have to give proof of why you want to find that person. And I had to show them, hey, I had to show them text messages
To
and
prove.
us
Yeah.
being together, that I'm not psycho, that, I'm trying to say, hey, is he really married? Am I being played? So that's the only reason why they took the case. So they took the case and they went to go see if he was married through the court system. And they also I also asked them to look his wife that he says he's no longer married to. I gave them her name, and that because I know wherever they're going to find her, they're going to find him. And so they were able to look up the address of her and him. And so at this time, so they contacted me and they said, well, sorry to report that yes, he is married to that woman that he says that he's divorced from, and they both live together in the same residence. And all this is public information. They just did the legwork for me, but it's public information. I just let them do that work for me. So anyway, at this time, I know he's married, but I'm not telling him that I know that he's married. I'm still playing along. And because I surprised him, what I did was I drove to his house, and his wife was pulling out of the driveway, and I flagged her down, and I told her, I said, I hate to, tell you this about your husband, but he hasn't been faithful to you, and he's supposed to actually be my husband. And what's so interesting though about her, when I was trying to show her, I had tons of proof, I had pictures. I was showing her all these pictures, but she didn't want to hear it. It's like she saw a little bit. It's like she wasn't there. I don't know if she was just shocked, but it's like she acted like I was telling her what the weather forecast was. I mean, she had no emotion. She was just,
She's probably so brainwashed. Oh,
yeah, she was just, and I was like, I almost wanted to stop talking and tell her, because it didn't seem like nothing was going through her mind. And I'm not trying to be, mean, but I'm just saying that was my thoughts. Like she wasn't there. And he must have saw me talking to her through the window, because he works from home, because she was talking on the phone and started talking to him. So he must have looked, but I didn't tell him that I was coming. So it was a total surprise that I did that. And it was so perfect that she came out the same time I was pulling up. It was perfectly
yeah,
timed.
that's called God's timing. Yep.
Yes, because that's another thing. He used God as, like, when I would ask him before all this, like, are you married? Do you have a girlfriend? He's like, as God is my witness, I'm not married. As God is my witness. I'm like, wow, this man is using
Isn't
God.
it unbelievable that they will do that? That they will actually go there.
Yeah, and say, as God is my witness. And so I started doing some more digging on him, and I found out that he's also an actor. He's an actor. He has an actor's profile and everything. It's an active actor's profile.
They sure are. They sure are actors.
Yes, I'm like, man. So I found out he's an actor. Found out he was married, not once but twice. And so I wanted to, and also real quick, when he was supposed to come in and live here with me, I renovated this whole place for him. I updated everything. I made this his musical room, because he likes to rap. And and I asked him, I'm like, well, what kind of things don't you want me to have here for you? He's like, I don't want any pictures of animals. That should have been my first, like, oh, you're out. Because he's like, don't get me any pictures with animals. I don't like animal pictures. that sh- that I should have been like,
Oh,
okay, we're done.
he's
Because I have
evil.
cats. Narcissists, they don't really love animals. They really don't.
No. And if they do, they look at them like an extension of them too, and they love them until they have to pay for a surgery or something like that. Then you see how
Right.
quickly they love them.
Right.
I know.
Or they'll use
I
them for like breeding or
Yeah.
hunting or a guard
Yep.
dog, but they don't truly
Yes.
love them, but they love what they can do for them. You know what I
Yes. You
mean?
just said it. Yes.
But
Oh
that
my.
him saying he didn't like animal pictures, I was
Yeah.
like,
It's pure demonic. It's purely demonic.
yes.
Like,
I'm like, what do you
so
got against animals?
what did he do when you were in the driveway with the wife?
He didn't come out. He's lucky I didn't bring my bullhorn, because I'm that bold. To use a bullhorn for the whole neighborhood. I'm that bold. And see, and I think that that's where he misjudged me. He thought that I was a really meek person, and that I would be too ashamed to really say anything. And
Yep.
so that's where his mistake was, because after that, because I haven't exposed, because I had that Christian channel, I made videos about him, exposing him. And so he sent me an email threatening me. And so when he sent me an email threatening me, I went to a lawyer and I had him served. And his wife got the papers, the serving papers. So I got him. I didn't get him served. I'm sorry. I gave him papers saying, hey, look, if you harm me in any way,
Mhm.
we're going to court. So you better not do anything
Good for
loco.
you.
Yeah,
Good for
don't.
you to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was letting him know that I'm willing to go toe to toe with you. So, but come to find out, I got served some court papers from him. From it was a he sent me a court papers of what is it when, like, say if there's a stalker and you're trying to, a protection order. He gave me a protection order. And you know what? He's such a dumb because you know what happened with that protection order? He was hoping I wasn't going to show up because I had to drive a total of 7 hours, 8 hours to be there. So him and his wife were there at court, and I come walking in, and you could tell he was upset that I actually showed up.
You showed up. Yep.
Yeah, I know. He was like, oh. So we go in the courtroom. At first, they didn't let the wife in. So he comes into the courtroom, and the judge is talking to him since he's the one that's the plaintiff. And he's standing in front of the judge. He's like, well, she hasn't threatened me or anything. I just don't want her to contact me or my wife. And keep in mind, he's just standing there with no paperwork, no police reports, no emails, no text messages. Nothing. He's just standing there with his own, just, can you please tell her not to contact us anymore? So when it came to my turn to talk, I had all my paperwork lined up of proving our relationship. I told, by this time, they let the wife come in. And the police officer that stands in front of the judge, you could tell all he needed was some popcorn. He was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Oh my God.
So it's my turn to talk. And, again, I think that what he thought I'd be too embarrassed or too ashamed to say the things that I said, I told everything about our relationship, and his wife was there. And so of course I won. My lawyer didn't even want to come and defend me because he said, you're already going to win, you don't need me. So I didn't. So he said he doesn't have anything. Now the only reason why he took me to court is because his wife got those papers from the lawyer talking about our relationship. And so he wanted to paint me into a psycho person by getting a protection order. It was for her benefit, to make it look like, you see, we got it.
Exactly what
they do. To make me look like a crazy person,
Yep.
And it didn't work. It backfired because she was forced to listen to all that information, see in my proof and everything. And so then a week later, I got served again by him because he contested their decision. And so I had to go to court again.
What a narc. What an absolute narc from hell.
I think what happened is when they got home, I think she really lit into him. I think she really lit after hearing my testimony of our relationship.
That, and how dare you make them accountable? Their whole thing is, you're not going to make me accountable to what I did to you. I'm going to make you pay for that. So let me make you come out here again because I have to feel like I'm in control of something.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think his wife really was really upset.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he's like, no, I'm telling you the truth. And I'm going to go back up there to the courthouse and we're going to go in there. And then I feel like as the time went on, he knew he had nothing. He knew he had nothing. So he didn't show up. And so, so I put my exposed videos back up, on him, and one of his good friends that I was telling you about earlier that told me that he did cocaine all the time. He's a narcissist too. So I guess he was trying to get me to get the videos down, or he was trying to make it seem like he sympathized with me, but he really didn't. He was just,
he was a flying monkey. He was a narc. The flying monkeys are narcs too. Oh my God. Whoa.
Yes. And he's just such a lost person. And just to show you just how narcissists will try to mess with your emotions, he was saying, before I found out he was married, he was like, Casey, Kay, I'm gonna move. I'm thinking about moving to I also go by KC too, sorry.
Mhm.
I go by two names, sorry.
Yep.
Um, and he's talking about moving back to Boston, Massachusetts, where he's from, and but really what he wanted me to do, like, no, don't go. What about our relationship? And what? But the truth of it is, he just moved down the street from his house. But see, he lied and told me I have something big to tell you, and I'm moving back. I think I'm moving back to Michigan or Massachusetts, wherever. And he wanted me to break down and cry, but really, he just moved down the street from where he lived at. Because he wanted to see
Wait.
me hurt. You know.
Yes. So we all want to know: did someone die of cancer or no?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it.
I
So
mean, because this is just
as I told you, my videos were uploaded. Another person came. Another person said that they went through the same thing with him, and that he did the same thing.
yep.
But they actually spoke to his ex-wife, and his ex-wife lives like somewhere in Alaska. And remember how he said, but my first wife, she really did die of cancer. She's alive and well, living with her and her mom, living together. She's alive and well.
That
Lied about
that
her
is
dying of cancer, and and so it's really sad because his first wife, oh my gosh, she didn't want to hear the name. When I tried to get in contact with his former wife, not the one he's with, but the first one, he said that he was telling the truth about dying. She didn't even really want to talk, not because it was personal to me, but because he did so much damage to her. She's like, I really just don't want nothing to do with that man. Because she was married to him for 5
God.
years. She's like, I just can't do it. No, it wasn't personal to me, but she was just went through so much with him. She just wanted to be. She didn't even want to hear his name. That's
Yep.
where, you know what I mean.
Yep.
And
Yep.
by me bringing up his shenanigans was a reminder of what she had to go through, with him, and he just
Wow.
lied about so much. He just he said that she's the one who cheated when actually it was him that was that cheated. Actually, with his second wife, I think he cheated with his first wife with his second wife. You know how guys,
Interlap.
the husbands will be like, we're together, but we're living as roommates, and we're not living. I don't love her. We're living two separate lives. So I'm gonna get
Always the
divorced.
story.
Yes, and so I think that that's how the second wife probably got hooked into that, believing that story. That's
Yep.
what I believe happened, and she ended up marrying him when he wasn't all the way divorced. So,
But
oh,
this
it was
had to
just
be so, like, this is a lot of trauma that in how many months did this all happen to you? It happened
within a
quick.
year. Yeah.
See, 1 year, this person comes in your life and completely tears it upside down.
Yes, it was very cruel. It's very cruel to like pretend to
Yes.
love somebody, pretend to say, "Oh, I never felt like this until I met you." The typical love bombing things, and making you feel,
Very
like,
special.
wow,
They
yeah,
make you feel
special,
very
and
special.
yes, and but like I said, I got the exposed videos on him, and thank God he hasn't uploaded since then. I think a couple rap songs. I think he referenced me in the rap songs, calling me a Jezebel. And every time I hear him call me a Jezebel, I make another video about him. I do. Matter of fact, I make
He
two. Every time I hear him call me a Jezebel, I've made a video.
You know what, guys? You guys out there that are listening to this story, you gotta this is why I've been stressing, after I learned how to date, and I learned how to date right, and believe me, I had two long distance situations that I went through, where people were just completely fraudulent in the end, and were living completely different lives than they were saying they were, and into things that are even demonic, and pretending they were not, and all this to say, these people, guys, will tell you anything you want to hear. And as far as to lie about somebody having cancer, you are demonically possessed at that point. Like there is
Right.
no, and you guys got to understand there's so many of them, and they hide under these guises of pastors and preachers, and they are all throughout the church. It is a terrible thing to have
Hmm.
to say, but it is the truth. I mean, we've got
Right.
pastors out there that literally are misogynists, and they abuse women, and they look for opportunities to abuse women. So they get on these platforms. They've been pastors for years. They're doing all these things, and they want victims. They want to have more punching bags and more victims, and it's just terrible. But you know, you didn't do anything. The thing you got to understand is you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you once you found out things, that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, yeah, there were red flags, but it's really, really tough when somebody's long distance, isn't it? It's even tougher.
Yeah.
So you guys got to be aware of that out there, because I work with a lot of people that are in these long distance situationships, whatever you want to call them. And I tell them all the time, like, it's very, very imperative that you spend time with them in person. And I'm talking like, get a hotel, and don't put yourself in situations,
Right.
because we're lucky we didn't come out with STDs. From these people spread STDs like it's their job, so you guys got to be aware of that too. And as far as uh you guys got to be aware, the other thing to be aware is these online predators. They're online predators. They sit online all day, every day, looking for victims, looking for people they can mess with their heads, looking for people that, oh, I know what I could say or do to get in her good graces. Oh, I know what she's all about. Let me play some games. I'm bored, and they do this. The one there from Mexico that I was just talking about, the little leprechaun. He you know he
He catfished you, Trace.
oh, he totally catfished me. He totally catfished me. He was married too. Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
hopefully he didn't say his wife died of cancer.
No, his wife lived right next door to him with the boyfriend, and that
Oh,
was a sick situation within itself. But anyway, oh yeah, we just never got the divorce. That was his thing he goes by. Meanwhile, he was hitting up 20-year-olds all day, every day from his Instagram account. I found that out, When I confronted him about that, he got real mad. He got the little man's disease as quickly as you could say boo. Um the
wow.
little angry man he became. Yeah, these people, this is what they sit around and they do. And they look for good people. They look for people that have hearts. They look for people that love the Lord. If you do tell them any weaknesses of yours, they're going to exploit you for that. They're going to tell you.
Exactly.
I mean, you could tell them stories from your past, because you're trying to get them to see that, oh, I've done a lot of work on myself. I've changed. I used to be a completely different person. And
Right.
they'll be telling people those things you told them, or trying to make it seem like you're still that person. Well, they're just sick. And I'm sorry that you were exploited for doing something. You had a channel that was for God, and you
Yeah.
were doing something good, but you see, God warned us that if we're going to be doing these things, it's not going to be easy.
No.
And we got to figure out, like, okay, how do I discern again, through people that are going to approach me. Um and look, I can name on one hand, literally, so I'm lucky, but I've talked to other coaches out there, and you'll have narcissism channels, and you're going to get narcissists coming to you for coaching,
Hmm.
literally. And that is the truth. And uh they are very aware of what they're doing, but their whole thing is, I have to, if Tracy the Narcinator can tell me that it's everybody else, I'm good. I fooled her too. And but
Hmm.
once you see through what they're doing, and they're trying to manipulate you to feel sorry for them and all this other stuff, then like, okay. And you're going to get that. You're going to get that from these platforms. You guys have to understand out there, narcissists have been watching our platforms for years now. And what they're doing now is they're just getting better at what it is that they do. So we have a lot more work to do. We have a lot more, you know, I was talking to you about this in the success of your new channel you're having here. We got to keep some things to ourselves. and wait and talk to people in person about things when we do sessions and things of this nature, because we're giving out too much information of what we've learned and what we're going to do to combat these people, or how we're going to figure them out quicker than we've been, because they're getting better at what it is they're doing, guys. And so this is a
Exactly.
war. And
Like
as fellow, oh, go ahead.
like for instance, the guy I was telling you about, that Christian, the next person that he probably tries to deceive, he's probably not gonna let them take pictures together.
Hmm.
He's probably gonna
Hmm.
be more careful. He's gonna not do the slip ups he did with me that gave me all the ammo to prove our situation. He's not gonna he next time a girl like, oh, let's take a picture together. He's like, no, I'm not really photogenic. I don't like my picture taken. he's gonna
Yep.
he's
Yeah.
gonna be
Oh
like that.
yeah.
But you know, the narcissists that take on that Christian role, it's easier to deceive Christians under that umbrella
Guys.
because we let
Yep.
our guards down because we think that they're godly, and I think that that's why we're so easily taken in by them, because we think, oh,
Yes.
well, they're from God, they know the Bible backwards and forwards. And that's
Yes.
the thing with these narcissists, they know the Bible,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they'll use it, and we lower our guard, and that's how the sheep get fleeced and deceived, because we lower our guard thinking
Yes.
they're from God. And I
You're
fear for them, actually, because that's one thing if you're gonna lie to me on your own, but to lie on God and say, is God is my witness, and use God's platform to for your deception of his people. I'm worried for y'all a lot, because
yes.
God, that's one thing to lie to us just casually, but to use God, but to pull God into your lie.
Yes. And they're so good at trying to twist everything around. It's incredible. I mean, that poor woman, is brainwashed beyond measures, that is living with him, and under the under the title of his wife. He looks for certain personality. They're going to look for certain personality types, and like you said, it's funny. I wanted to do a whole video on this. When people think you're nice, they think when you're nice that they really can pull the wool over your eyes and play
Mhm.
games with you and manipulate you. And then they find out, nice doesn't mean we're stupid. Uh,
Right.
we're not going to give up our good hearts in the end because of your crap that you've put us through and the hell that you've put us through. We're never going to change our hearts, which is what they come in our lives to try and do. It's not going to happen. But
Mhm.
in the interim, you just met your match when you came in my, try that again. I'll
Yeah.
expose you as quickly as you came around. Keep it up. I'll expose you. And
Yeah.
you did, and God bless you for that. And
Yeah. And I think that God, even though I know I made mistakes too, but and I know that God knew I was going to make those mistakes, but I still feel like he used me to stop him, because he knew I was going to make those mistakes. So since he already knew I was going to do that, why not take him down and use me, because he was doing this. I'm not the only one he was doing this to. He was doing this to other women,
right,
this using the same script. And so now his channel is shut down, and if he starts making more videos, I'm going to keep kicking out those
good,
exposed videos.
good,
Every single time
good.
I see him do something, it's going to be another exposed videos, and I love to be creative with them.
Yes,
So
yes, I
so
love that. I love that. I love that. And yeah, I say to you, you know, keep spreading the awareness on people like this. Keep telling your story. I'm glad you got the opportunity to come on the channel today to really tell the story from beginning to end. It's therapeutic, it's cathartic, and it's helping other people out there to know the extremes that these monsters will go in
yeah.
lying to you. Guys, they lie about their character. I mean, they're telling you they're for God, and they're turning around. They're into witchcraft, and you don't even know it. I mean, these
Mhm.
people are sadistic. They are lost souls. I would go as far as to say that they are just vessels, truly 100% for Satan. They don't have
Mhm.
remorse. When you figure them out, they hate you. When they
Yeah.
came to you, there's a part of them that hated you too. They hated you and loved you at the same time because they
Yeah.
saw that you were authentic and you had a heart, and they knew how to play on that. and it's sick,
Right.
and it's spineless, and they're cowards. But I'm so happy that you did everything you could to stick up for yourself, and you kept going with it, and you ended up shutting him down and his stupid channel with
Yeah.
his
Praise
fi-
God. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
anyone that searches up his little channel is gonna find my exposed videos and all in their recommendations. So even if he does start posting again, my exposed videos are gonna start coming up in their feed because they think, oh, you're interested in this. Well, this is associated with this channel. So my exposed videos are gonna come up with in their feed if he starts posting again. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
either way, I'm gonna be a win. It's gonna be a win-win, and
And you guys got to fight back out there and understand that, they they're going to try and do these things. Like he I'm surprised he didn't try to do a defamation on you or whatever. They think of things, but when you know that, you have the text, you have all the
I have all the
conversations.
proof,
Yeah, you have the
everything.
proof that, like, they were after you, they
Yep,
were chasing you. They were
yep,
saying all kinds of things, and then you have pictures on them
mhm,
that this is like really who they are. This is who they're with. This is what they're doing. Like, they are not men of God. They are full of crap. And you keep all that. So when they want to go try to, like, bring you down, it's like, no, you know, you got I'm sure, just like me, you got people that know you, have known you for a long time. They can vouch for your character,
yeah,
and they don't have that, because they know they already got caught up in all of their lies. They're full of crap. They're liars, and they just go about and they're just trying to
yes,
bring up down good people.
yep.
And
And I got
enough.
one more thing to share. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Early on remember how I told you early on he was emailing me. Well, when I would go back to those emails, I could never find them again. It's like they just disappeared out of my email feed. And so what I started thinking, like, okay, he has an automatic deletion. Like, say if I send you an email, I'll have a timer. As soon as you open up that email, within an hour, it's gonna disappear from your email, as if I never even sent it. There is a such thing. It's called confidential email or something like that. So I remember that. So when he had sent me that threatening email saying if I don't take those exposed videos down, he was gonna do something bad to me. Um, I remembered that in the beginning of our relationship with those disappearing emails. So I screenshotted that email, and of course it disappeared out of my feed where you can't print it out. You're not able to print it out. It just boosh vanishes. So that was another thing that helped me in court and with the lawyer, is because he didn't
You
think
you
that would screenshot it. And isn't
unbelievable.
that like wicked that you would like have a confidential email, like when you're getting to know somebody and you're already putting a timer on it when you're just
That's what I'm saying.
getting to know them.
See, that's what I'm saying, you guys. You guys got to know about these things and how they're going to do it. And you see any of
Mhm.
that stuff going on in the beginning, you run, because they're
Yeah,
up to something. They're trick.
yeah.
They got a bunch of tricks in their bag, and that was one of his big tricks. What
Having
a
so it's like to erase all the proof that he was ever in communication with you. You can't
Yep,
prove it,
yep.
but I screenshotted it. So
Good.
remember that. You know,
Unbelievable. I just
isn't he something?
oh, it's sick. It's sick. But you guys out there, you got to know how these people think and operate, so you can,
Mhm.
as soon as you see it, you get the heck out. Well,
Yeah, but
okay,
I
I
assure
cannot.
you. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I assure you, he hates the day he met me. I'm telling you, he may have got me in the beginning, but praise God, I got the justice in the end. I promise you, he wishes that he never met me.
Yes. Yes, I mean, they don't understand, like, if you got people in your back pocket, like, I've got good private detectives. I've got crazy computer savvy people that can hack the hacker.
Mhm.
These are the people that are going to help you figure out what they're doing, how they're doing it,
Yeah.
to give you the advice of what you need to do. because
Yeah.
they're crafty. They sit around, they got nothing else to do with their life. They sit around all day just figuring out, like, how do I manipulate people to get what I want,
Right. Yeah.
to feel better about myself, to whatever, to fool people because they get off on fooling people.
Yeah.
So
And
I
hurting
feel like,
people. Yeah.
yes, hurting good people. The better of a person you are, the more you've done for them, the more you've given of your time and yourself, the more
Mhm.
they're gonna spit on you,
Yeah.
and it's sick. But I thank you so much for
Thank you for having me.
coming on the channel today, and spreading the awareness and helping spread the awareness,